Welcome to Roaming with the Ramsays. I'm Gordon.
And I'm Alice.
If you're not already a subscriber, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave us a like, and give us a comment and let us know what you think of our videos.
And don't forget about that bell. If you ring the bell, it will notify you every time we put out new content.
Which should be every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time. Today, we're taking you to the Devil's Garden in Arches National Park. When you leave the parking lot, you're walking on a well-maintained trail walking between rock formations. What a beautiful hike. After going through the rock formations, you'll come to a spur in the trail that goes off to the right. That spur will take you down to Pine Arch and Tunnel Arch, two really nice arches that should not be missed.
The nice thing is that they're two different arches, okay? So the Tunnel Arch is up on the mountainside. It almost kind of looks like a window, but they call it an arch because there's no real view on the other side, and that makes it an arch instead of a window. And it's really cool because it's way up there and you can see it, and if you catch it just right in the morning, the sun shines through it. It's pretty cool. And then the Pine Arch,
Totally different.
totally different.
I mean, as you're walking up to the Pine Arch, the trail becomes this really soft, almost powder-like sand.
Very powdery.
And then when you're at the arch itself, there's some really nice pine trees in front of and also on the other side of the arch. This arch, unlike Tunnel Arch being high up, this arch is down at the ground, so you can walk through on the sand underneath the arch. You can look up and see what the arch itself looks like, and then you can take photographs and stuff from the other side of the arch if you want. Once you've finished exploring both the Pine Arch and the Tunnel Arch, it's time to make your way back up the hill to the main trail and begin the journey on to the Landscape Arch.
So the Landscape Arch is 290 feet wide. It is the largest arch in Arches National Park and said to be the largest span of arch in the world.
Just amazing. The size of it and the overall beauty of it is just breathtaking. Now, there's several different locations that you can take a picture of this arch from. They don't let you walk up underneath this arch because in 1991, 18 tons of rock fell from the underneath side of that arch to the ground below.
Could you imagine witnessing that?
It would have been
18
amazing.
tons of rock falling from the sky, just about.
Because the Landscape Arch is pretty high up. It's just a beautiful arch. We got some fantastic pictures, and there's many different vantage points that you can take a photo from, depending on the time of the day and what kind of photo you'd like to have. When you're done at the Landscape Arch, it's time to make your way up to the Partition Arch. This section of the trail is where it really starts getting hard.
Yes.
You're walking in either real soft, powdery sand or making your way up a rock incline. This section, not easy, so make sure you have good footwear and that your hands may be empty so you can actually grab a hold, because you're going to have to scramble a little bit.
Yeah, this is where I decided that I was going to put away all of the cameras into our backpack just to make sure that I was able to make it up some of those, because some of them the steps are kind of high for people who have short legs. Gordon had to assist me a couple of times to get me up some of those rocks because they're pretty steep.
But it's worth it, because once you get to the top of this, there's a little section you can go off to, and you can actually see Partition Arch from here, and it's just a great view, and you can still get a glimpse of the Landscape Arch. All right, we're currently between Landscape Arch and the Double O Arch. Had to hike up a big chunk of rock. It's pretty cool. A little challenging, but not bad. You just got to pick the right path.
Breezy up here.
It is breezy up here. Got some nice photos from up here because you can still see the Landscape Arch over there in the background. So now that you've made it to the top of that first ascent and you've taken the look of Partition Arch from a distance, it's time to get back on the trail and make your way over to Partition Arch. Partition Arch is a really cool arch in that you've got one larger window on one side and one smaller one on the other side.
We had a great time at this arch just because we decided that it was snack time. So we pulled up a piece of rock, had a seat, and then we were swarmed by what?
Chipmunks,
Chipmunks
everywhere.
Oh my gosh, they came from everywhere. We must have had at least a dozen chipmunks.
It's pretty obvious that somebody had been feeding these chipmunks because they knew where food was stored in backpacks. And they knew what we were up to. So we got some great video footage of chipmunks harassing us during our morning snack time.
And of course, we never fed them anything because we don't feed wildlife. You know, that's why they're wild, is they fend for themselves. But that was a great time because I even had a chipmunk get up on my leg and try to get my trail mix, and as I pulled it away, he bit my finger.
Kind of funny. Got some great video of that too. But once we enjoyed ourselves at the Partition Arch, it was time to make our way on to the Navajo Arch. Going to the Navajo Arch was really special.
Right.
Because it ended up being our favorite arch
Yes.
of the two. And just before you arrive at the arch, you're walking along this rock formation that has all kinds of really neat features on it that almost look like a honeycomb in a way.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the actual arch itself and you see the trees in the arch,
It's great. I mean, it's a nice little alcove type of arch, so it's very shaded. It's got some beautiful trees where if you line it up just right, you're gonna get an amazing photo.
just like this one.
We got some great stuff, and it's a great place to cool off because it is so shaded, and because it's hot out there. Great place to just take a little rest and cool down. We had really enjoyed this area.
While we were there, we had an opportunity to meet 4 guys who were all retired Pennsylvania State Troopers. We shared some information back and forth between one another. I took a wonderful picture of them, and that's one of the benefits of doing what we do.
Right.
We have an opportunity and we make an effort to try and communicate with people, get to know what their story is, talk about what their adventures are, because we have our own adventures and we're trying to inspire you to make up your adventures and not just think about it as an adventure, but to actually pursue it.
Right. We really enjoy being out and meeting people all the time.
When we finished with Navajo Arch, time to head on to the 00 Arch.
Yes.
This was probably the most challenging part of the hike, and the one part that I would say, if you're afraid of heights, you certainly don't want to do this.
Right.
Because you're having to scramble up rocks,
Yep.
and at one point you almost have to crawl up until you can get on top of the
spine of the fin. This is another place where Gordon had to help me just because my legs were short and I couldn't seem to get up, so you may need assistance on this. But on the spine of the fin, basically you're walking on the top part of the rock formation, so it's a drop off on both sides. So if you're not comfortable with heights, not for you. But if you like the height thing, I like it. I thought it was cool, and I really enjoyed walking on the spine of this fin.
Offers some amazing views over the valleys.
Of the Salt Valley, yeah.
And when you get to the end of the spine, you'll continue on another piece of trail. Now that piece of trail can be a little hard to find because a little bit of it is a sand, and then you walk on rock for a little while, and the trail markers are very few and far between. So as a tip, look for the other people and where they're going. Look at foot tracks down in the sand.
You can find some because there's sand here and there when you pass over some of the rocks. So we found ourselves doing that because the trail really is not marked very well. Just look for the sand. If you can't find people, follow the people, and it's not bad.
Not bad at all. And once you get to another point, you're going to kind of walk on a ridge again. And as you're walking on this ridge and you're heading down, look to your left.
Oh my.
The view's amazing, and
Yes.
that's where the 00 Arch is.
So the 00 is a stacked arch. So there's one on top of the other one, and it's quite amazing. I mean, it was the only one that we saw in the park. I'm not sure if there's other ones or not, but it's the only one that we hiked to. So it was pretty amazing to see that.
Correct. And after we enjoyed our time at the arch, helping other people take pictures,
Them taking pictures of us.
we decided that we were going to find a tree in the shade and have a little bit of lunch.
Chipmunk! Squirrel. I just squirreled her with a chipmunk.
So we made it back to the 00 Arches. It's really beautiful back in here. It's a real kind of almost sand duney feel to it, with rocks, boulders, these trees like the one we're sitting on and the ones behind us.
The nice thing about this area is there are a lot of trees, so you can find the shade to again cool off because it's warm, and before you decide to go either continue on to the Dark Angel, the Primitive Trail, or turn around and go back like what we did, because by the time we got back to the park, to the parking lot, we did almost 9 miles.
Yeah, and we had been hiking for probably 5 hours. Now that's a slow hike, which is what we like to do because we really like to enjoy the scenery and the beauty that there is out there. There's no reason to be in a rush. On this hike, we were able to see 6 arches, had 2 meals, one with chipmunks,
And
one
one
without the
without.
chipmunks, although there was a raven eyeing my sandwich.
There was.
So make sure that you make time for this kind of a trip.
Yes.
Now, if you're really short on time, you could get to the Landscape Arch, the Pine Arch, and the Tunnel Arch, all probably in an hour.
Yeah.
But again, that will be a really fast hour and you're not going to get to enjoy it as
Right.
much.
So this was probably one of our favorite hikes here at Arches National Park. Highly suggest taking the time to do this hike.
It's beautiful. We're chasing our adventures.
Make time to chase your adventures.